When I became Orthodox, I started, actually when I became a priest, I started looking at the daily scripture readings from the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese at goarch.org. And I noticed it was an epistle and a gospel lesson every day. And so I started reading both of them and just trying to prepare for Sunday's homily. Because I do something a little different than a lot of Orthodox clergymen do. I start preparing my homily on the Monday before that Sunday. I look at what the passage is and start looking. And so by Friday, I've got my outline written. Saturday morning is for rehearsal, and then Sunday is the thing. Because you don't get good unless you rehearse. Sorry guys, you got to rehearse. This preaching by letter, you know what preaching by letter is, don't you? That's when you preach by letter, you just open up and let her fly. That's not going to work. You got to practice. This is worth the effort. Do you understand? This is worth hard work. It's not going to happen by accident. You're never going to be Orthodox by accident. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. You're going to have to be Orthodox on purpose. We're going to talk about that later on. So we've heard the bad news. So let's get to the good news. What do you say? Here's the good news. Everybody see? We can react three ways from what we heard this morning in the session. Depression. What's the use? What are we going to do? It's just too big. It's just too much. Depression. By the way, depression will only lead to more of the same what we have. You realize that, don't you? Just an accelerated decline. I told a parish that asked me to come in and do a consulting thing for them about revitalizing their parish, and I told them, I said, well, let's fix up the building and get it ready to sell. What? Father, we brought you in to help us revitalize. I said, well, do you want to revitalize? Well, yeah. I said, well, then answer me one question. Why don't the people who live across the street come to church here? What do you mean? I said, they may have very good reasons why, but unless you know, you're not actually in the place where you are. You don't know your community well enough to be able to deserve to survive. So let's get the building ready to sell. And only a Muslim or Jewish group wants a dome building, so we just need to market it to them. Is that okay? Oh, Father, we're so scandalized. Good, wake up. This is the swift kick in the britches that you need to decide who you are. Are you in this place? Yes, Father. Then know it. Find out why the people who can walk to church don't. Well, Father, they're not Greek. Oh, okay. What has that got to do with anything? Well, they may not like it. You're assuming. You know what happens when you assume, don't you? Out of both of us, as it were. So get to know your community. Depression only guarantees you'll just die sooner. Okay, next. Denial or anger. I've had people do that, by the way. They get angry at me when they hear the bad news. Well, this isn't what I'm used to. Oh, good for you, snowflake. You'll be fine. And finally, determination. Actual follow the path of timeless orthodoxy and how the faith has always prospered everywhere it's actually been practiced. That's the decision that I hope that you make today. So the very first question to ask, why do we exist? The best way to determine the answer to this question is with another question. Why do people who live across the street come to church here? Why are you Orthodox? Why are you Orthodox? Well, it's just the way I've always been. It's not going to fly, folks. Why are you Orthodox? I want you to watch something. This is, and guys, forgive me. Thank you. Just move it. Just get rid of it altogether, Father Deacon. The whole world, do you understand God created us, right? And so God has put into the heart of every human a natural hunger for himself. That's normal. So even in the business world, there are principles and ideas that have a direct application and a discovery of a treasure that we Orthodox have always had. Those of us who hunger for the fullness of the faith. There's a guy by the name of Simon Sinek. He wrote a book Start with why. This is Simon giving this talk, and I want you to listen to this talk. It's not long, but it is significant. If you're ever going to determine your why, if you're ever going to determine why you're Orthodox and why others should want to be Orthodox too, I want you to listen to this clip. Hopefully that'll turn up here in just a second.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access, the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery
You know what? I don't know that it has captions on it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Even profoundly changed the way in which I operated it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out,
have a microphone.
all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle.
Watch this, gang. This is important.
Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Nah. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate personally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. The best lawyers, the biggest clients, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets gas mileage, it has leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
This room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple, but we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making some flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs.
That's better.
And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products. And nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level? The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and the figures, and you say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't the other body parts controlling your behavior. And it's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe.
All right, I'm going to stop there, guys. There's more to this than that, but I'm going to tell you what, and I hope that you find a way to get Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, because it is an absolute brilliant treatise on why you should deal. In fact, I bought a copy of that book for every one of the members of my parish council when I first came to the coming parish, and I told them that unless we understand why we're Orthodox, we can never help anybody else become Orthodox as well, including our children. And that whole notion that he talked about the limbic brain, that the place that is made, the decision-making place in your head doesn't control language, is extremely important. And you heard me say in the first part, and some of my folks that we were having lunch with heard me talk about that the real value of this event that we're doing here today is the fact that we're together. Not because Father Barnabas is either entertaining or giving you great information. That's wonderful and good, don't get me wrong. Especially if you think I'm entertaining. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. The ego needs that boost now and again. Thanks a lot. But the real value and the real power is the fact that we're together doing spiritual work together. And until I find a way to process why I'm Orthodox, I will never be able to help anybody else discover that treasure as well. And if you notice, contrary to my previous background, telling people they're wrong doesn't really work very well. Have you noticed that? You're a Protestant? Oh, man, are you stupid? Yeah, that's not going to work, guys. Sorry. You're a Roman Catholic? Well, you know what the Pope, don't you? Come on, folks. Here's why we're right. Yeah, that's going to go over like a lead balloon. It's not going to work. There's something more visceral at work here, gang. There's something about pressing out why you are what you are that will assist you in being able to articulate to others what drives you. Why are you Orthodox? Is it just by the happy accident of your birth? Yay for you. You got a head start. What have you done with it? Because trust me, folks, every one of us knows stories of rich kids who've had everything handed to them and who've squandered their treasures, haven't we? We've seen it before. We've watched it happen. Somebody given all kinds of advantages, and yet they come to nothing because they never had the ability to appreciate what they'd been given. And the cost is too high when it comes to eternal life. So, the important thing that Simon talks about here is that you must know why you do what you do. You must know why you're Orthodox. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to go to seminary. It doesn't mean you need to understand the hypostatic union. It doesn't mean that you have to understand why the liturgy is designed the way it is. But it does mean that there should be something inside of you that is curious. The most boring human being in the world is someone who lacks curiosity. Imagination. The desire to know why. For instance, why are Orthodox churches situated from west to east? Why is the door that you enter in the west and the altar in the east? Why?
Christ will come from the east.
Christ will come from the east. There's more to it than that. That's really great and wonderful. Not everybody believes that Christ will come from the east. They don't even believe that Christ exists. I know a buddy of mine who doesn't believe that Jesus ever existed. He's a little bit off, but what are you going to do? That's what it is. He's my friend still anyway. There's a more natural way to understand that too. Where does the sun rise? Where does it set?
West.
So the second you walk into an Orthodox church, you're already moving from darkness to light. From chaos to order. From confusion to purpose. And the closer you get to the altar, the more discipline happens, doesn't it? I had somebody ask me one time, they said, "Father, why can't women go in the altar?" I said, "Sweetie, it's worse than that. Not even all men can go in the altar." And by the way, I do know women who do go in the altar. They have permission to help out and do stuff, and they do. I don't want to scandalize you. Actually, I don't really care if I scandalize you. So I'm getting on a plane and leaving. Father could clean up the mess. But the point is that the closer you get to the altar, the more disciplined and the more focused you have to be, and the more you have to pay attention. Did you know I can't move any way I want to in the altar? I'm the priest. But you know I can only move certain ways around the altar, only counterclockwise. That's a rule. You think of me and think, "Oh, well, Father Barnabas, he can do anything he wants." No, it's even heavier. The discipline on me is worse than anybody. It's more pronounced than me than anybody. Why? Because the closer you get to the center of the universe, did you know that the middle of the altar is called the axis mundi? The center of the universe. I love the folks. You know, this is the one that's going to learn everything. She's taking copious notes over there. It's wonderful. God bless you. I expect you to help the rest of these people remember all this stuff, okay? It's called the axis mundi. It's the center of the universe. And I want to move counterclockwise around the altar for very specific reasons. Do you know what those reasons are? Read a book. I'm not going to tell you all. I want to leave you curious. The point is, folks, when you understand why you are what you are given the freedom to share why you are with others. And if you don't know why, you're consciously going to be unable to share. When somebody asks you, and that's the reason why we hide. especially the Orthodox. We're terrified that one of the Protestants is going to ask us a question about the Bible. Terrified. Terrified. Oh, I don't even know that there was such a book as the book of Job. Job. And what is a concordance, for heaven's sake? We lack a sense of confidence. And when we lack confidence, guess what happens? We hide. It's not working out for us, folks. It's got to change. You have to change it. You have to change. You have to put as much or more effort into being orthodox as you do in your career. The neat thing about that is this: if you pay attention to being orthodox, you'll be better at your career. If you pay attention to your orthodoxy, you'll be a better husband and a better wife and a better mother and a better father. Because orthodoxy heals you. Orthodoxy makes you who you're meant to be. And so when you know why you're orthodox, you'll be ready to move forward. So knowing why is extremely important. So the very first question that a parish needs to ask is, why do we exist? And the best way to determine that question is, why don't the people come to church here? So here are 3 characteristics of growing Orthodox parishes in the United States. Are you ready? Here they come. You ready? All right, you ready? You're ready. Ready. Oh, you're awake. God bless you. It's after lunch, folks. I've got to keep you on your toes. I want to be honest with you, the older I get, the more this wears me out. So y'all help me out here. So amen to me is like sick 'em to a dog. I'll just keep going. So y'all just keep doing it. First, growing Orthodox churches have lots of church services. Lots of services. When I came to the Cumming Parish, they were a Sunday-only community. I said, okay, gang, it's a new day, new sheriff in town. We're going to have church every Wednesday. What? During the week? Well, yeah. We're going to do Vespers every Wednesday, and after Vespers, we're going to do adult education. Every week? Every week. Nobody's going to come. Okay. I'm in sales, not management. That's y'all's business. I need to pray, so I'm going to pray. Y'all come and pray with me. Or not. Your business. Every Saturday we're going to have church. On Saturday? Every Saturday. 5 p.m., Great Vespers, first part of our Sunday worship. What? Yeah. We measure that. We Orthodox, here's a little newsflash for you folks. We Orthodox measure the day like the Jews. Sundown to sundown. So the first part of your Sunday worship is Vespers on Saturday night. That's why we don't have parties on Saturday nights. I apologize. That's what I think of it. That's why by the time the sun goes down, we're finished with our carousing. We don't go dancing on Saturday nights. We're getting ready for liturgy on Sunday. Father, that's a bit much. Okay. Nobody's going to do it. Okay. That doesn't bother you? None of my business. I'm just here to pray. Y'all come with me if you want to. Church services is the normal way that Orthodoxy shapes and forms our lives. We are a liturgical faith. We are a liturgical faith. And everybody has a liturgy, by the way, folks. You've heard me say that before in the last session. Everybody has a liturgy. Our liturgy is fullest, most complete, most well-rounded, and it specifically exists to shape the character of Christ inside of you. If you want to know in fact, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. If you want a theological education, do you guys have Orthros? I don't know if you guys have Orthros. You don't have Orthros, do you? Do you do 9th hour? Do you do 9th hour in the morning before liturgy?
3rd and 6th.
3rd and 6th hour in the OSA. In the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, we have what is called Orthros, or morning prayers, before Divine Liturgy. And they're beautiful hymns. And I tell people all the time, you want a theological education? Come to Orthros for a year and listen to the hymns. You'll know more about the faith than practically anybody else in the country. Listen to the hymns. Of course, that means they have to be in English. Of course. By the way, that's new, people saying of course. It used to be a fight. People used to throw stuff at me when I'd say that. I'd throw it back, so it's no big deal. Come to Orthros. Listen to the hymns. In fact, the longer I do this faith as a priest, the more convinced I am that the greatest catechism are the hymns of the church.
Amen.
Bless your heart, Deacon. God bless you. That's it. If you want to be orthodox, know the hymns of the church. You know the hymns of the church, and you have a theological master's degree. The Orthodox liturgy is designed to form you in a certain way. In fact, they're asking me to do another video series, and I'm considering doing it on the divine liturgy and the liturgical life of the church. And I'm doing a study right now on the power of ritual. And I've learned this: across human history, there is one perfect pedagogical way of helping people become wedded to an idea, and that is to ritualize it. If you don't ritualize an idea, it will go away. Ask any of the kids that don't do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore before school starts. That used to be the norm for me, by the way, guys. Do y'all remember that? Whenever you go into school, you did the Pledge of Allegiance, you did the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer! Holy moly! You got folks in the American Civil Liberties Union spinning in their chairs right now. Oh, God. Oh no, they're going to do the Lord's Prayer. What if they believe in God? Oh no. So my point is, if you're going to ever know something beyond simply knowing about it, you're going to have to ritualize it. It's the reason why we ritualize all major events of our lives. There's always a ritual tied to it. If you're going to be formed as an Orthodox Christian, you have to go to church a lot. A lot. More than once a week? Oh God, please, at least once a week, please. There's an old story. Can I tell you a quick story? Is that all right? It's just us. There's this old man and this old priest in Greece, and they're sitting having coffee. That's real weird. Actually, it's not true at all, but it's always normal. So they're having coffee. And they started having coffee in the morning. They're talking all day long. The old man is there talking to the old priest, and they're just really enjoying each other's company. And towards the end of the day, the old man looks at the priest and says, "You know, Father, I confess, I really need to go to confession. I really need to go to confession." By the way, you know that's normal, by the way, to go to confession as an Orthodox Christian? And now it gets quiet. That's normal, to go to confession. And he says, "Well, I really need to go to confession." So the old priest looks at the old man and says, "All right, son, that's fine. We've had a wonderful day here together. Are you faithful in church?" And the old man just kind of dropped his head and said, "Oh, Father, to be honest with you, I only go a couple of times a year." And the old priest smiled real big and said, "Oh, wonderful, you're regular." It's easy to say, to start keeping a checklist, and say, "Oh, you didn't go to church, all this stuff." By the way, did you know that the early canons of the church said that if you miss 3 Sundays in a row, you've excommunicated yourself? Really? I'm just giving facts, folks. I'm not making any judgment calls. That's y'all's business. But I'm just saying, in the early church, they couldn't conceive of being a faithful member of the church. Even the word faithful assumes you're faithful, right? If you're not faithful, then how can you call yourself the faithful? The faithful are faithful. That's why they're faithful. Does that make sense? So going to church forms and shapes you. If you don't go to church, that also forms and shapes you. Whatever you give your time to, your talents to, your treasures to, tells me who you are. In fact, I'll be even more crass than that. If you show me your checkbook, I'll tell you who you are. Because you will spend your time and you will spend your money what you love the most. But Father, Yaya, great-grandmother, only gave $2 a week to church. I had a fellow tell me that one time. You know, they've learned by now not to do this stuff with me. They've learned it's just better not to say anything at all to Father because he'll come back with you. So this guy says, well, Father, Yaya only gave $2 a week. I said, that's right. Yaya had $4. Let me know when you're giving 50% of your income to the church. Then you can be as good as Yaya. Oh, Father, that's radical. Okay. You're going to live forever. What you're doing now is going to determine whether you enjoy it or not. So you put the dollar value on that. Your business, not mine. Lots of church services is one of the main characteristics of a growing Orthodox church. Next, lots of educational opportunities, just like Father's doing here. And I'm extremely excited about this new educational push that you guys are doing here at the parish. This is a big deal, gang. A+. You're following exactly the pattern of growing and purposeful Orthodox churches. Good job. Lots of educational opportunities. You know what the Scripture says? My people perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. What you don't know about, you cannot embrace or learn from. What you don't know will hurt you. So lots of educational opportunities. Churches that offer lots of, and I need to add to that, actually I need to qualify that, lots of adult educational opportunities. Because more and more we're having to play catch up with the fact that we put our kids through Sunday school, we have them in the youth programs, we have in the Greek Orthodox Church, we have Goya, and we have Hope and Joy for the younger kids, and we have YAL for the young adults, which has, by the way, disappeared. 20 years ago, YAL conferences in the United States of America would draw 20 and 30,000 people. Do you know what the YAL conference gathered last year? 300. So, adult educational opportunities are absolutely essential for a growing Orthodox church. Does that make sense? Yes. Good. And finally, strong preaching and exhortation. Not everybody preaching like Father Barnabas. That would be exhausting on his face. God help us all. But preaching that is actual preaching and not simply teaching a lesson on Sunday morning. Teaching a lesson on Sunday morning is not preaching. Preaching answers the so what question every time. So if you do what I tell you, this is what it would look like in your daily life. That's what the so what question is. That's preaching a homily. A homily is not a lesson. A homily is not a book study. A homily is preaching the truth and saying to you, get off your collective rear ends and do this. That's the Father Barnabas interpretation of the word to exhort. I love that. When one exhorts, one says to people, rise up, bless God, and get to work. Do it. Father, you're talking like this isn't an option. You found out about me. That's all right, good. The challenge is preaching and exhortation is normal orthodoxy. All you have to do is read the homilies of St. John Chrysostom and you'll hear him. There's one place where he even fuzzes at people for clapping during his sermons. It's hilarious. Well, I'll paraphrase. He says, why are you clapping? You're not going to do it. All you're doing is clapping. You're just condemning yourself. Stop it. Don't clap here. You're not going to live this way. Why are you clapping? You're communicating the wrong thing. I love that. I mean, he's just some great stuff. And then he fussed about the Empress in there too, and that was really kind of fun too. That's the reason why I got kicked out of the city. But anyway, the point is, normal orthodoxy has very effective preaching. That's normal. Now, it hasn't been normal for the past 400 years, but that's just 400 years. You guys understand this is a 20 centuries long event, right? We've been doing this for 20 centuries. So for heaven's sake, when you say, oh, that's not normal, forgive me for believing that you're a chronological snob. That may be not normal in your little short lifespan, but come on, give me a break. We've been doing this a long time, folks. And it's the fact that we're ignorant about what centuries of normal orthodoxy is that is indicative of the fact that we don't have a normal Orthodox experience now. Normal orthodoxy has good preachers. Preaching and insisting that you change your life. Not as a suggestion. I told one fellow one time, he's fussing at me about something. And he says, well, Father, this is just disturbing to me. This bothers me a lot. I said, let me ask you a question. If your house is on fire, and I come in to get you, are you going to start fussing at me about the color of the drapes and what are we going to do about the carpet? No. You're going to die. If I happen to pull your shoulder out of socket, dragging you out of the building, suck it up, snowflake. You'll be fine. Brothers and sisters, look at me in the face. Your house is on fire. Do you hear me? It's burning down. I got to get you out of the building so that you'll live. Does that make sense? I know it's not pleasant, and I know it's not fun, and trust me, folks, I wrap this hard preaching in as much fun as I possibly can, because ain't nobody like bitter stuff. You got to put a little sugar around it just to take the medicine. I know that, and I do all this on purpose, and I hope it's effective to a certain degree. But I'm not teasing you. The building is on fire. We got to get out and save the faith. And it's going to take us waking up to the seriousness of reality so that we can move forward. So, 3 characteristics of growing churches. Lots of church services. Lots of adult education opportunities. Strong preaching and exhortation. No more beating around the bush. Got it? Let's move on. Also, growing parishes are purposefully orthodox. We've already heard a little bit about this, where this parish here is encouraging men and women, adults, to actually practice the faith. This was a real shock to some of my folks in coming when I started talking to them about fasting on Wednesdays and Fridays. One guy, a parish council member, looked at me and said, "Every week?" Every week. And I said, and it's twice a year where it gets really rough, before Christmas and Easter. What is that? It's called Winter Lent and Great Lent. Oh, yeah, I know about Lent. Yeah, we don't. We stop eating meat on Fridays. You sweet. Come here, angel. Come here. God, Jesus, love, it's hard. And I started talking to them about what normal orthodoxy is. And I started talking to them about confession and practicing confession on a regular basis. One guy said, everybody always looks for a loophole. I don't get that, guys. I came to orthodoxy to buy in hook, line, and sinker, man. I don't want the Walmart, half off special. I want the whole thing. I want to get the whole thing going. And he said, well, now, Father, how often should I come to confession? I said, I've got the answer for you. You ready? And he was wanting me to say, once a year or twice a year or once a week or whatever. I said, you ought to come to confession every time you need to. Well, how do I know when I need to? I looked at him and said, you need to. And one quick rabbit trail, why? Again, we're talking about know your why. Know why you do what you do. Why confession? Most people, in fact, all of my converts, like I say, we're 70% convert in our parish. So all of my converts, before they're chrismated, they go through a live confession with me. And they go through a confession, and boy, it's tough. And every one of them is scared before they do it. Every one of them. It's never, even the most, I had this one macho guy, football player, big guy, ex-police officer, Fulton County Sheriff's Department guy, converts to the faith, has to go to confession. Kid, this bigger than I am, huge guy, broad shoulders, scared to death. I said, man, why are you scared? So I don't want you to think less of me. I said, I can't think less of you. Oh, no, I didn't say that. I said, man, do you think I genuinely remember all the stuff people tell me? I said, do you understand that sin is boring? What do you mean, Father? I said, sin is boring. There's no creativity in sin. I can reduce most sins to 5 or 6 things. One of it's a variation of one of those things. Boring is watching paint dry. Sin's boring, folks. It's not creative. It's righteousness and goodness that's creative and produces beauty and awe-inspiring wisdom and awe-inspiring architecture. It's righteousness and wisdom and glory and beauty that creates wonderful things. Sin's just boring. And I hear confession at the St. Stephen Youth Camp every week, and I always tease people. I say, if I hear one more teenage boy tells me that he's struggling with lust, oh really? Wow, that's a real shock. Really? Who'd have thought? I'm amazed. Are you serious? Of course you are. You're a teenage boy. 50 billion screaming hormones running through your body. You better be. It's boring. So I told him, I said, son, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. This isn't about punishing you. God is not angry with you. Again, we're reorienting our thinking about who God is. God is not angry with you. You can't make God mad, folks. If you can make God mad, you have power over God. And you don't have power over God. God's fine. You need to be healed. You have passions that are unruly and undisciplined. And they're your masters. They're supposed to be your servants. Your passions are unruly. They need to be disciplined. Here's the path. The practice of confession on a regular basis. This is being purposefully orthodox. The fasting rules, the feasting rules. In fact, I had one priest tell me one time something that really shocked, it was amazing to me, and I fell in love with it. So I told him, I said, I'm going to use it and not even tell people it was your idea. I'm going to claim it's mine. But he said, we Americans are especially unable to feast. And I said, what do you mean by that, Father? He said, every day's a feast here. He said, you get people, especially from Eastern European countries, and take them to an average American grocery store, they'll freak completely out. What do I pick? How do I decide? The amount of waste we throw away in this country would feed the rest of the world. We feast every day. We don't know what it's like not to feast. That's why the fast is so very important for we American Orthodox. Because I cannot learn to say yes to something good until I've said no to it for a short time, so that I might receive it as a gift rather than my due. That's why fasting is not optional in the Orthodox faith. We fast in our church so that we can say no to good things for a short time, so that we will stop believing the delusion that we deserve them. Isn't that good? Mm-hmm. You should say amen to that. That's the good stuff right there. All right. The theme of our parish in coming is this. We are an intentional Orthodox Christian church for North Georgia. The bishop asked me one time, Father, what is this intentional orthodoxy? I said, Your Eminence, we're Orthodox on purpose, not by accident. We choose every day to practice the Orthodox faith. You see, folks, I come from the great Orthodox theologian Forrest Gump school of thinking. Stupid is as stupid does. Orthodoxy is as orthodoxy does. It's great that you were born with a head start. That's a blessing. That's a wonderful thing. But if you're not practicing the faith, you're not Orthodox. Father, that makes me uncomfortable. Good. It's like I was sharing with some of the ladies at lunch today. A guy came into my office. Again, they're learning their lesson. They're stopping doing this stuff. Young man comes in my office. He wants to leave his wife and his children because he's not happy. And he looks at me and he makes this horrible mistake, and and right after he says it, he can tell, I have just made a major mistake. He looked at me and he said, well, Father, don't I deserve to be happy? And I looked at him and I said, no! You don't deserve to be happy. You deserve to be good. Happiness is a byproduct. It's not a goal. If happiness is your goal, you will never be happy. Because there will always be circumstances that are going on around you that make you unhappy. If happiness is what you're seeking, you're an idiot. You'll never be happy. Happiness is a byproduct. It is never the focus. And until we learn that, folks, we're going to continue being a perpetual adolescence in our society. We will be perpetual teenagers, never being able to grow up because we don't know how to be human. So, we're intentional Orthodox. for North Georgia. Orthodox by accident will never be as strong as Orthodox on purpose. What you have done with the gift of a spiritual head start will tell me who you are. Growing and vibrant Orthodox parishes regularly evaluate their ability to be a welcoming community. Okay. I got to quit soon because I want to leave time for questions and comments, okay? So, I want you to pay attention to these, this next little very practical aspect of being a welcoming and purposeful Orthodox church. Church growth statistics tell us that there are 3 places of visitor notices about a church when they visit. Number 3. By the way, what do you think they are? What are the 3 places that a visitor is going to notice? You may be already on the list. What do you think? Huh? The greeter. Okay, what else? Bathroom? No, you laugh. Parking lot. That's important. Yeah.
The icons.
The icons, they're going to notice that right off the bat. That's the weirdest thing they've ever seen in their life. Ma'am? How many people are in the church?
Landscaping.
Landscaping. What does it look like? What else? Cleanliness. There are 3 number ones, or 3 of the top. The top 3 are: 1, was I greeted and shown what to do? We have a program at Saints Raphael, Nicholas, and Irene called by the way, we don't have committees in our parish. We banished the word committee from our parish. We have no committees in our parish. Oh, Father, well then how do you operate things? We have ministry teams. So the greeters are the greeter ministry team. The parish council is the parish council ministry team, because I refuse to allow these people to believe they're not co-ministers with me in doing this work. When every one of you were chrismated into the church, you were ordained to the laity. This is the royal priesthood. The Apostle Peter says to it in 1 Peter. You are part of the royal priesthood, of which I am the icon. By the way, you know why the church dresses me the way she dresses me, right? Not for me. Lord, if there's a man on the planet that doesn't deserve to be a priest, it's me. Trust me. I know. Ask my wife. She'll tell you. The priest is dressed the way he's dressed for you. So you'll have an icon of who you're called to be. Who you are supposed to aspire to. So that you can discover who you are. And so our people are co-ministers with their father, with their priest. So they're the ministry team. So we have a welcome ministry team. And we have a packet. And I wish I'd have brought it. I didn't. I apologize to you. We have a packet that we give all of our guests. We don't have any visitors because visitors may not come back. Guests are always welcome back. Language matters, folks. Words mean things. So our guests get a guest packet, a welcome packet. And in there's all kinds of stuff about our parish and how they can get involved and what's going on and so on and so forth. A little history of our community. But everyone will get it. And it's big enough to fit into a woman's purse. Because if it's bigger if it's too big to fit into a woman's purse, although I've seen some women's purses that we could fit a whole Haitian family in, but other than that, but if it can't fit into a woman's purse, it's worthless. They'll throw it away. But this is a small welcome packet about this big, and it's lovely, very, very well designed, very well printed, quality stuff inside, and it's given to every guest. And our greeter, the welcome ministry team is also shown that when a guest comes in, especially if they're non-Orthodox, they've never been to an Orthodox service, they're not going to know what's going on at all. So they offer to sit with the person. They get a liturgy book and they open it to where we are in the liturgy and they say, here's where we are, right here. And they go from there. Again, folks, it's a mindset shift that says we assume every person who comes into our church wants to be Orthodox. And we're going to help them do that. And if you don't have that mindset, you won't act this way. We've decided to act that way. We started, when I came there in 2010, we had 32 families. We now have 120 families in our parish. And we're at overflow. We have 100 kids in Sunday school. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. I kept telling them, no more. No more people in church. We're done. I put you on a waiting list. That's it. We'll have any room for you. Go someplace else. Well, of course I did. Well, go someplace else. And they don't. But they obey. They obey me like you obey your priest. Not at all. They keep coming. Anyway, So was I greeted and shown what to do? At the very second someone comes into your church, you're going to start communicating to them with the way things look and how they were greeted, who you are. So you have to ask the question, who are you? You're a person, you're a parish, you're a community that serves people and are glad to see them there. Not like, I had one guy one time tell me about visiting a Greek Orthodox church in a city I won't name. And when he walked in, he was new and he didn't look Greek. And the guy standing behind the counter, who had been there for probably between 130 and 440 years, selling the candles, who are you? I'm so-and-so. What are you doing here? It's very much like my first coffee hour, by the way. My very first coffee hour, I'm at this beautiful Greek Orthodox church, and I'm at coffee hour, and I have my name tag on because I'm a new guy. And it says Barnabas Powell. And little Yaya walks up to me, a little Greek grandmother walks up to me, and she says, Powell. He's not a Greek name. I said, no ma'am, I'm not Greek. My family is Welsh and Irish. Oh, what are you doing here? Don't you have your own church to go to? And then it became fun, folks. I confess it to you. This is evil. I've already gone to confession about it. But I started, and it was just, come on. If you're gonna underhand the pitch, I'm gonna hit it out of the park. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is. It's nothing personal. I have my own integrity to keep up. So I looked at her and said, "Oh dear, this is my church." What? Why? Yaya was not upset that I was there. We became big friends. She was confused. She told me later, she says, Barnava, I have to be here. I'm Greek. I have no choice. I have to be here. You don't have to. Why are you here? And it was so wonderful to be able to share with her the treasure of her own faith that she had never thought that way before. Well, brothers and sisters, when you have guests come into your building, you're going to communicate one or the other mindset to them. And so what are you communicating? Are you communicating, oh, we're glad you're here, but we don't say anything. Good luck. Or are you proactive? Are you purposeful in receiving your guests? How would you treat a guest to your home? Oh, we're so glad you're here. Good luck. See you later. No. Well, if you wouldn't treat someone coming to your home that way, for heaven's sake, don't. But I know what you're afraid of. You're afraid of that's like you treat somebody like a guest and they look at you, I've been coming to this church for 25 years. It's funny, we never see you. Well, it's not been 25 straight years. 25 Christmases, exactly. So, but run the risk, folks. It's okay. Run the risk. Because how you greet your people matters. Next, the children's area. A mother will not come back to a church that she looks at the children's area and feels that it's unsafe or unclean. Period. Full stop. End of discussion. So if you have toys in the children's area, make sure that they're cleaned on a regular basis. If you have carpet in the children's area, make sure it's clean and not stained all over the place. Because you communicate something to that mom that says, this is not a place I need to take my kids. And they won't be back. So pay attention to the details. It makes all the difference in the world. And finally, guess what the number one thing is? You ready? What do you think it is? Number one.
Turkey.
Okay, what else?
Do they have a seat?
Welcoming.
Do we have a seat? Welcoming. We already covered welcoming. That's okay. What else? What is it? The icons. What else? The priest. Most unimportant man in the building. Name of the church. What else?
Friendliness.
Friendliness. That's really a good. What else? This is the number one communicative piece to a guest that ever comes to a church. How many people are in it? Guess what? Here it comes. The women's bathroom.
Come on.
So, Not the men's bathroom. Who cares? As long as the light burns, that's fine. Who cares?
Our standards are so low.
Exactly. You know, we don't really care. The women's restroom. So in our parish, in the women's restroom, we have little frilly flowers in there, and there's pictures on the wall. It's disgusting. I hate it. But there's potpourri in there, and there's little spray things, and it's just like, oh, God, give me a break. But it matters because it communicates to those guests what you think of yourself, what you think of the value of the treasure that you have in that church building. It matters. So if that's the case then, brothers and sisters, imagine about all the other big stuff too, like the parking lot and the landscaping and all of the other things that communicates who you are in your community. So, we're going to stop here in just a second because it's 1:30, close to 1:30, and I want to make sure we leave time for questions and comments. Every divine liturgy, you sing a hymn. We have seen the light, the true light. We have received the heavenly Spirit. We have found the Greek faith, the true faith, worshiping the undivided Trinity, who has saved us. You say it every week. Now the question is, do you actually believe it? If you do, then you are worse than the demons to withhold it from the people around you. If you really believe that, then you are worse than the demons themselves to withhold it from the spiritually hungry people that are around, that are in Olmsted Falls. You are an evil, evil person if you can look at a starving person and disregard them because it's inconvenient. I hate that, but it's true. Because of that, my precious friends, I want to leave you with this exhortation: that you may have many enemies in this world, but God is never one of them. And the treasure that you have in your Orthodox faith is more valuable to you than your looks, your health, your career, your marriage, your possessions, your children. And until that's what you believe with all your heart, you will never treat your career, your marriage, your children, your possessions like they deserve to be treated. Because you will have not put in first things first. And your life will be incomplete and unknown to you until that work is done. So being orthodox on purpose is the key. It's the reason why, dear ones, I use media to share the faith. By the way, I do a daily devotional called Faith Encouraged Daily. I don't know if you've ever heard, how many of you have heard of that before? Daily, Faith Encouraged Daily? Oh, wow. Thanks. Appreciate that. Of course, Hillary, you have. You know it all, for heaven's sake. Forget about me. Just ask Hillary. She'll tell you what to do. Ask Hillary. She knows what's going on. Now, you think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. You do what this kid tells you. Put her on the parish council. That'd be the smartest thing you could do. So I do Faith Encouraged Daily, which is a Monday through Friday daily devotional. It's 5 minutes long. You can listen to it. All you have to do is go to faithencouraged.org, and you can sign up for it, and it'll email it to you right there. That's what the book is based off of. The key is to get you practicing your faith on a daily basis and not just once a week. Once a week is good, but it's not enough. So Faith Encouraged Daily is the key. The faithencouraged.org is the website. You can discover all this stuff. Some of you are also taking a journey to fullness. How many of you are doing a journey to fullness? Raise your hand. Okay, that video series, in fact, the 1st of October, it's been a year since it's been out. And over 100 parishes are using it now across the country in all kinds of jurisdictions, which I think is pretty cool. I did that video series, and we spent $150,000 to make it happen, and probably got $250,000 of work done. By the way, folks, that's not a lot of money. I know it sounds like a lot of money, and the very fact that it sounds like a lot of money to you makes me nervous. In the Protestant Christian media world that I came from, the ministry that I worked at last had annual budget of $72 million a year, which is more than all of our jurisdictions combined for one Southern Baptist ministry. So it isn't a lack of money. The Orthodox people in this country are the second wealthiest and the first in education of any subgroup in this country. So it's not because you don't have any money. It's because you don't give it. You don't value it. That's a problem. And when the church is left begging, it's because you've decided to do that. Stop it. The one problem every parish in America ought to have is how the world will spend its money. That's the problem every parish ought to have. And when we give based on gratitude and not on need, we'll have that problem. When you give based on gratitude, then you're not giving. Well, Father, people come up to me all the time, Father, what does the church need? They don't do it much anymore because, sorry, they deserve it. I tell them, the church needs you to stop being stingy. That's what the church needs. The church needs you to properly value the treasure you have in the faith. You properly do that and we're done. Then it's not about, oh, please, can we just have the $100 more? If we just had that, then we could pay the light bill. Folks, that's not moral. You understand me? It's not moral. And it communicates something about you that I don't believe is true. So stop doing it. So we did Faith Encouraged. We did a Journey to Fullness specifically to introduce the faith to people who don't know about orthodoxy and give parishes a tool to introduce the faith. What I've been amazed by is most of the people taking the class are lifelong Orthodox, which I think is really cool. I didn't know it was going to happen. It did. I'm happy. But that's happening, a Journey to Fullness. And then we also do a radio show called a Faith Encouraged Live, and that's on the 2nd and 4th Sundays of the month on ancientfaith.com. In fact, on the 24th of this month, Father Josiah Treneman is going to be my special guest, and we're going to be talking about the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation. That's going to be a cool show. The one we just did was on the medical ethics that are changing in this country, where we're using killing as medicine. Lord have mercy. So that's on ancientfaith.com. It's called Faith Encouraged Live. And then I have the book that's out there, Faith Encouraged, that you can get if you want. Take it away. The reason why I'm doing all of this stuff is this. It's exhausting. Okay, as you can tell, I'm wore out today. I'm going to get on the plane. I'll probably fall asleep on the plane. I can't not do this, folks. I'm 57 years old. If God is very good to me, and if I start eating like I'm supposed to and working out a little bit now and again, just walk to the cotton picket mailbox for God's sake, please. I may have 20 years. And it would be the height of failure on my part if I leave this planet with what I know and not share it. It's not moral. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why your parish exists. It doesn't exist to keep a nostalgic view of the Orthodox faith alive. It exists so that men and women can learn how to be like God and enjoy Him forever. Anything smaller than that, folks, and it may be a lot of things, but it is an orthodoxy. I am overwhelmingly grateful that you've given me this time, and that Father has allowed me to come and stand in His home and do this work with you. I am trying to follow my old football coach's rule: leave it all out on the field, Powell. Leave it all out on the field. Don't leave nothing else. Give it all. So I've tried to do that today. You've done that by your attention and your presence here. I can't say thank you, so I'll just simply say, please pray for me. And I'm grateful for your time. God bless you. take some questions real quick and then we're going to stop, okay? Questions, comments, or thoughts? What are you taking away from this event this weekend? What are you taking away? Nothing? Outstanding. That's encouraging. Yo.
Focus on why.
Focus on why. Isn't that great? I never will forget when I read that book, I'm thinking to myself, oh Lord, this is the language I've been looking for to kind of put with what I've been sensing.
Who's the author?
Simon Sinek.
That's something that I think, lifelong Orthodox as well as members deal with, because you know why when you come in, but it's really easy to get into that mentality where, okay, this is what we do on Sunday, and forget why.
Yep.
Forget how much passion you have behind your decision.
Right. Well, and the reality is, folks, by the way, by the end of the second generation of a convert's life, the convert children are taking on the same characteristics of the lifelong Orthodox. So far, that's what we're discovering. It's easy to lose your why. It's hard to hold it. That's why it takes work. So that's a good takeaway. What else? Yes, ma'am.
I've seen him speak before, and he did a really good talk about millennials.
Oh, man, that is a fantastic talk. Look up the TED Talks in Simon Sinek and you'll find it.
Well, somebody put it on Facebook,
He did.
and it was phenomenal.
Talking about the screens, by the way, have you noticed that all the younger generation now, they don't look up from their screens anymore? Have you noticed that? They're saying now that we may be seeing the unintended consequence of a Facebook or an iPhone generation coming to fruition now. Pretty scary. Thank you. What else? Somebody else. What are you taking away from this event?
I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
work to do.
You and me both, sister. Amen. Yes, ma'am.
Got work to do.
Work to do.
I was
What
thinking the
else?
same thing.
What are you going to do here? Yes, ma'am.
Not take this faith for granted.
Amen. Not take this faith for granted. Amen. What else? What are you going to do here? Yes, ma'am. Share it. How are you going to do that? How are you going to share it? What are you going to do? Today, what are you going to do? How are you going to share it? Something easy. Don't kill yourself by saying, oh, let me explain the power of theosis in your life. No. Did you know that 75% of unchurched Americans have never been invited to attend a church service with somebody who does go to church in their life? And 82% of those people would say yes if they were invited. Have you ever thought about inviting somebody to come to church? Hey, would you come to church with me Sunday? Okay. Share it. Do something easy. Well, what if they don't like it? Okay. Nobody's free to say yes until they're free to say no. That's all right. Share the faith. What else? Yes, ma'am.
We have our work cut out for us in this American society. It's not about being happy.
No. It's swimming upstream. It's swimming upstream, and it's going to work muscles you didn't think you had. And it's really difficult, and it's really hard, and it's easy to quit. It's hard to stay faithful. Do it anyway. What else? Yes, ma'am.
I just started working as a chaplain at a hospital and have already realized I need to come up with a better answer to the question, what religion are you? And then follow-up is, what's that?
Yeah.
And why?
Developing what is called an elevator speech is really good, although I will tell you this, one of the most difficult things about talking about orthodoxy is the notion. I had one guy tell me one time, he was a prominent Protestant, evangelical Protestant media guy, and he looked at me and said, all right, Paul, I got 20 seconds, tell me about orthodoxy. Are you done? So I simply say this, when somebody says, I say, oh, I'm Orthodox. Of course, the black dress gives it away. Something's up. By the way, I wear this every day, all day, in my little southern town. Coolest thing in the world. You know what they say to me when they see me? Hello, Father. So it's a wonderful witness, and that's the reason why I do it. But anyway, it also starts wonderful conversation. What? One guy walks up and said, what are you? I said, well, I'm Homo sapien. How deep do we need to go here? But usually what I will say is, orthodoxy is the oldest expression of Christianity in the world. And then we go from there. Orthodoxy is the oldest expression of Christianity in the world. Oh, wow. I didn't even know that. Oh, okay, that makes sense. A lot of people don't know that. But would you like to know more? And you always ask, you always probe. Don't assume. Assuming is a problem. Most of the time you will assume based on your fear, and usually your fears are wrong. Fear is a lousy motivator, folks, for your actions. Fear is a lousy motivator for your actions. Fear is only good when a bus is coming towards you and you're in the middle of the street. That's a good time to be afraid. Other than that, ignore fear. Fear is the mind killer. What else? Anything else? Any comments or questions or thoughts? Yes, ma'am.
I said that people understand God in such a fearful way and in such a judgmental way, and how really they understood He's a loving person. I just want
Yeah.
to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to be around somebody who loves you, yeah. But the thing about it is, it's easier to believe. Do you understand, folks? We humans are lazy. There are 3 great giants that dog our path every day. Do you know what they are? The fathers say that there are 3 giants that dog our path every day that make our lives less than what they're meant to be. The first one is ignorance. The second one is forgetfulness. And the third one is sloth. Ignorance, forgetfulness, and sloth. Those are the 3 human problems that trip up a human life. Ignorance, forgetfulness, and sloth. I either don't know what I should know so that I can avoid the problems in my life, or I do learn it and I forget about it, or I learn it and I don't forget about it, but I'm too lazy to follow through on it. By the way, do you know what the remedies for ignorance and forgetfulness and sloth are? You ready? This is fun. I always love this part. Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, generosity. Prayer destroys ignorance. What do you mean? I thought learning destroyed ignorance. No. Prayer, intimacy with God destroys ignorance, because it's not that you don't have the complete facts. It's that you don't love the one person. Learn to love. You know, the 50s song, one of my favorite songs, by the way. To know Him is to love Him. And I do. And I do. And I do. Prayer overcomes ignorance. Fasting overcomes forgetfulness. All I need to do during Great Lent is to hear my belly rumble. And I remember, I should pray. It's Great Lent. I'm focusing on God more. I'm driving by the Burger King and the double beef Whopper with cheese with extra bacon is off my menu, which is a shame. But I'm doing that on purpose. I'm not doing it by accident. And then, interestingly enough, what overcomes sloth is almsgiving. Why, Father Barnabas? Because sloth is a forgetfulness based on self-interest. It is an inactivity based on self-interest. And it is only when I give my money away, or I give my time away, or I give my talents away, that I overcome laziness. They've done studies that said that the best way to motivate people to be generous is to help them understand that when they're generous, they feel great. They feel so good. In fact, I did work at Ooey Pooey at Indianapolis University in Indianapolis, Indiana, and they have this wonderful program on philanthropy. And as I was doing those courses there, and they were telling me, they were saying, if you can discover what a philanthropist loves, you will have a way to help him find a way. In fact, the major gift person is to help people discover how they can feel good about their lives through their giving. And so, almsgiving overcomes laziness. And that's free. That wasn't even part of the show today, but that's right. So, ignorance, forgetfulness, and sloth are overcome by the 3 basic disciplines of the Orthodox faith: prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. All right, what else? What are you taking away from today? Yes, sir. Father.
To sort of build up on your last point of almsgiving, at one point you mentioned, show me your checkbook and I'll tell you how orthodox you are. And for our collective awareness, the same thing applies to a parish budget, a parish that is one collectively. Show me your parish budget, and I'll tell you how, the interest of the parish,
Yeah.
where the parish is focusing, where the parish wants to go, and so forth. And this is something not only for us, but those of you who come from other parishes can, take home with you.
Amen. Yeah, how you spend your money, folks, tells me who you are. Tells me who I am. How you spend your money tells me who you are. We had some folks go to the University of Georgia Bulldogs Notre Dame game up in Notre Dame. The tickets, the scalping price tickets were $800 a piece. 30,000 University of Georgia fans went up there. Now, those are some fans. One might even be pushed to think that the original to that word really applies. Fanatic. Imagine if all of those resources were turned towards eternal things. But the enemy is always trying to get us to look at the shiny stuff over here so that we'll disregard the true treasure over here. So what are you susceptible to? I love you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.